just a quick and dirty one. I just uploaded a demo. If you want more of the demo videos and the FUZM stuff, definitely check that out on the channel here. There's plenty of stuff if you just cruise around. But for those of you who haven't kind of heard the rumblings or seen anything about this, it looks like Bill, the owner of Klone LLC, or the company that makes the original Klon, is going into a legal battle against Behringer for their kind of blatant copyright infringement. And it's got the community starting to buzz. The first I saw of it was a couple creators starting to talk about it, and then Ryan from 60 Cycle posted like a screenshot or some kind of grab from one of the legal statements where it was like evidence had been submitted of YouTube reviews of the like Centaur Behringer pedal. I really like that series of pedals that they did. That one was definitely, you know, cutting it pretty close. And while technically Bill isn't a small builder anymore in terms of reputation, like everybody who's around for a while has heard of a Klon pedal and the prices that these things command, and there's so many companies that have done versions of it. I never felt the need personally to do it. I think the circuit is good. It's very clever. Obviously, you know, it's hallowed as a very good thing. And a lot of people want a more affordable version. However, when it comes to things that lose or win lawsuits, trade dress, the actual graphics, the look, the name is one of the few things that actually can be trademarked and enforced. Looking into this, you know, it's... The company that owns Behringer is very large. It's a very like big conglomerate that owns a lot of companies, and they have a lot of money. So when it comes to their legal team, you know, they could stretch this out for quite some time and rack up a lot of bills for Bill. And that's going to be a factor, I think. You know, when we're talking about who's going to win, like Mr. Klon is obviously in the right? He's defending the thing that he created, that he designed, that has the name that he put on it from the very beginning. That is definitely his property, right? I'm sure he's filed all his things correctly. You know, when it comes to other builders or other companies that have done versions of it, he probably chooses not to pursue those. This is something I definitely considered. The Shroot pedal. I was going to grab one, but I just shipped my last one today. So I used fan art, and I was very careful about what and how I said things so that NBC didn't come after me. I'm a small fish to fry in terms of all of the fan art and things, right? But even if I'm doing like a big muff circuit or something, I'm very careful about how I represent that, because when it comes to the name of something, it's one of the few pieces that can be, you know, defended in court a little easily. But usually it comes down to who has the resources to pursue it and enforce their property. And it sucks that it kind of just comes down to the money. I hope Bill gets a big settlement for it. But when it comes to, you know, the quality and reputation of Behringer, I think they definitely need, you know, a little bit of public confronting. There's other creators that have done way better videos about kind of the ethics of stealing. But when it comes to the everyday man players, like the cheap Behringer pedals have been a huge gateway drug for customers of mine, right? That Super Fuzz pedal, that being the best-selling pedal on Sweetwater a few years in a row, like back when it came out, the one that's an FC2 that's orange. That thing is awesome. Like, that existing means that more people are getting into pedals. They're trying fuzz. They're getting excited. Adventure is another version of that circuit, and it was really easy to sell it because I would just tell people, look, you really like that orange thing, but you don't like the plastic case. Here's my version. It's a little bit more, but it's not as expensive as an old FC2, etc., right? Like, what they do generally isn't always the worst, but there definitely are some things where I'm looking at these products and I was like, that one's close. And when that one came out, I was like, well, what'll probably end up happening, and this has happened with other companies, is that, you know, they'll ban it on official channels. So they'll be like, okay, you can only sell that in some countries. You can't sell it in the US where we are defending it. But that's the thing about, you know, global company, is that not all the same laws apply to all the same regions and can't always be enforced. It makes me think of the, what is the name of that? Pirate Bay. Originally, when government agencies were pursuing Pirate Bay, They had no jurisdiction because that company wasn't operating in the US, so their laws, what they claimed was violating their laws, didn't apply. Obviously, that was not a one battle, but when it comes to these things, it definitely sparks a lot of discussion. I don't hate that Behringer products exist. I think that company is important. I think this one was too much, right? You can sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear, players and company people's opinions. If someone outright stole my property, like took my art, took my name, all those things, I don't have unlimited resources to, defend it, and that sucks. Even things like other builder friends of mine have had their PCBs traced and sold on the DIY boards. So like it's a schematic and a layout aren't necessarily always trademarked, but even that can be a little bit of it feels like it's taking away from kind of the magic of the product. But in terms of legality, like, so long as you don't say the name just the right way, like there's this gray area sometimes that I think is good that exists, because our court systems are bad enough as it is. We don't need it bogged down even more than it already is. But anyway, curious to hear what you guys think. I'm keeping apprised of this situation as it develops. I think it's an interesting one. I think a lot of other YouTubers and channels are going to cover it. I know that recently me talking about, just doing an off-the-cuff video about Earthquaker and the tariffs got some traction. I know that that's the kind of content people want to talk about. But, at the same time, I'm not really here to slam anybody or make this into a tea channel. But at the same time, these kinds of discussions can sometimes spark further conversations in the comments that are worth having. So it's this balancing act that I'm finding myself in, knowing what will get quick clicks, but also trying to balance it with value and bring some kind of perspective that's unique to the situation, not just reading a one paragraph crappy article. Like, I see this stuff from major publications sometimes where they just barely look at the surface issues of the topic, type into ChatGPT, and it spits out a little blurb. That's kind of what I was referencing in my other video. Is in the thumbnail you see this crappy article that made me so mad because it really took things out of context, and then the content of the article itself was pretty useless. Definitely educate and look into things for yourself. Like, a quick Google search can give you a few things, but if you just look into it a little bit deeper, you can learn a lot yourself. And there's a lot of misinformation in comments, even in legitimate news sources sometimes. So you really do have to do your own research when it comes to anything. Just like I mentioned in that other video I keep referencing, only because it got a lot of views. It's at like 13,000 views, which for one of my videos is a lot. I quoted, the Senate hearing, and I have links to it. Those kinds of sources that are more, give a bigger picture, I think are really important, and get bigger context to these situations. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I hope that this video was worth watching. I hope that, these kinds of topics, these kinds of discussions that we're having can be civil and educational, and looking forward to seeing what happens. I hope it brings around a good precedent for, smaller companies, smaller builders being able to defend their IP. I think that would be a positive step, but at the same time, I really don't think Behringer is going to lose that much money. At the end of the day, even if Bill gets a fat settlement, they're still going to keep doing what they do. Sometimes cloning things outright, or just buying up the old companies. They have enough money to do that. They can just buy up like the synth products and all those things. It's wild to see. But anyway, hope you have a good one. Fuzzum.com if you want to learn more about what I really do, and we'll talk to you later.